if you're thinking about moving to Pittsburgh, stop what you're doing because making the wrong assumptions could cost you thousands, could frustrate your daily commute, or make you regret your decisions entirely. In this video, I'm breaking down the 7 most important things you need to know before packing up your boxes and heading to the Steel City. This isn't the sugar-coated version. This is the real-life insight only locals and relocation clients learn the hard way. Let's get into it. All right, for relocating to Pittsburgh or even just exploring the idea, I help people like you every single week make a smooth, informed transition. Whether that means buying, renting, or just figuring out where you want to even start at, feel free to call me or preferably email me at the email below, shane@expppgh.com, and we can set up a Zoom call and go from there. Now, let's get right into the video. All right, so number 1 is going to be Pittsburgh weather. What you really signed up for here. All right, so on this list, we have what's called a pothole season. So this is going to be right after winter, when you have that winter thaw into spring, and all of a sudden you're driving and the roads are absolutely just like bombs went off all over the place. There's potholes all over the roads. So when this happens, you got to be ready. You got to be on your toes. You try to avoid those potholes without going into the other lane or hitting another vehicle or another person that's walking beside the road. So for this reason, you got to make sure that your car is, well equipped. You got to be ready to possibly get new alignments every spring, because once you go through these potholes, you're slamming into them. Your car is going to be all misaligned. And it just happens. It is what it is. Some of these potholes, I've seen them get down like 10 inches below the surface, and that's no lie. It's just everywhere. That's because of the combination of the thaw coming up, the cold weather, then the thawing, and then you got salt mixed in there that the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT's throwing all over the road to help keep the snow and ice off the road, which they have to, so they throw it on the salt, and the salt also destroys your car, so you got to make sure you watch that car. Okay, which brings me into the next point of the weather is going to be the snow removal. So during the winter, I'm going to be honest with you, I moved back here from Los Angeles in 2018. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, moved to Los Angeles, actually lived there 3 times myself. So if you want to know how to move and relocate, I'm your guy. I've done it a few times. So now, moving back to Pennsylvania and definitely in the Pittsburgh area, municipalities are going to affect how well the snow is removed and how quickly they are about removing the snow. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't had that many issues. I lived in North Huntington. I lived in Irwin. I lived in Jeanette. Those are all over in Westmoreland County, east of Pittsburgh. And then right now I've lived in McCandless, and now I'm in Allison Park at the moment, which is still part of McCandless, the North Allegheny School District. I haven't had any issues with them not coming down the road and getting rid of the snow. Some people complain, but I think it's more of a neighborhood thing. And plus, it's got to be extremely difficult to plow these roads. Once you get down into the smaller areas like downtown Pittsburgh, you got these roads that are so tight. You got cars parked on either side, so it can be a little difficult for the big plows to get through and clear the roads for you. So I personally haven't seen an issue with it, but I've lived in more of the suburbs, so that could be it right there. Now, if you do live in the city and you live on one of these roads where most of the parking is going to be on-street parking, just be prepared. If there is a snow and the plows come through, your car's probably going to be buried. So give yourself a little extra time to, 1, shovel your car out, and 2, warm your car up to get some of that snow and ice off the windshield. If it's already frozen on it and you can't brush it off, you're going to have to let your car run a little bit with the defrost, turn that heat way up, and let that puppy sit. Which brings me to another point. Make sure you always have gas in your car, especially in the winter around here. If you got to run your car for 10, 15 minutes to warm it up, make sure you have some gas in your car. Don't let it get down to E overnight. Plus, there's a chance if it gets too cold, and there's no gas in it or very little gas, it could possibly freeze. It's highly unlikely, but it could happen. That's Pennsylvania. All right, so when you're talking about weather, you're talking about snow, you got to prepare your car. So 1, all-wheel drive. If you can get an all-wheel drive vehicle or at least a 4-wheel drive vehicle, you want to go that route. You can get around in a 2-wheel drive vehicle, especially if it's a car, if it's front wheel drive, you have a better chance than if I've had trucks in the past that were two-wheel drive and they're in the rear wheel drive pickup trucks here do not do well in the winter, or even if the roads are wet from the rain and you try to get out in front of somebody and you hit it and your tires are going to spin, you're going to slide a little bit. So Prepare your vehicle. If you can't get all-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive vehicle, make sure you have really, really good snow tires. They do sell them. You can actually get studded snow tires here in Pennsylvania, and you can only have them during the winter months. Actually, my wife got a ticket when we were in college. She didn't take off the studs off her tires. She didn't change her tires, and I've never heard of that before in my life. But we were driving in the spring, coming back from college at Penn State, go Penn State, and she got a ticket for it. The cop either heard or saw or whatever, saw the studs on the tires and gave us a ticket for that. So if you do go that route, make sure you take them off, change them back to the regular tires in the springtime. Okay, I hate to be the bearer of bad news on all the weather in I almost said Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, but for the most part, it's cloudy. It's we get over 200 days of cloudy skies, so that doesn't leave very many days for sunny skies. But like a day like today, it's August 3rd right now, 2025. It is gorgeous out. It's only 8 degrees, sun's shining. Sun's been out actually for the last week, so it's not always that bad. It's not as bad as what people make it out to be. A lot of people that grew up here say, "Oh, Pittsburgh is it's gray and shitty all the time." It's not. Is not. There are sunny days. There are nice, pleasant days. The weather isn't always bad, but for the most part, it's cloudy. So just realize we have cloudy skies. We get a lot of rain in the spring and in the summertime. Number 2 is going to be cost of living. It's affordable, but know the ins and outs of your area. Where you live in Pittsburgh, I almost said it again, Pennsylvania. Where you live in Pittsburgh is going to affect your taxes. Your school taxes are going to be affected big time. If you live in North Allegheny. Yeah, if you live in North Allegheny School District, taxes here are going to be a lot higher than they would other areas of Pittsburgh, Western PA in general, and especially of Pittsburgh. If you live in Allegheny County, they're going to be higher than if you live in Butler or Washington County or Westmoreland County. So my taxes here in North Allegheny School District are high, plus we're in Allegheny County, which makes them high. But our neighbors to the north in Cranberry Township and Mars, they live in Butler County, so the Butler County taxes are a lot cheaper there. So the school taxes are going to be that big differentiating factor wherever you live and what school district you're in, or whatever school district you live in. That's going to affect your taxes big time. So they could be high over here and low over here, but you know what I mean. It's all over the map. So just understand where you're moving, understand the taxes. Now, there is something called a city wage tax, which we'll talk about later. So you got to know about city wage tax. If you live in or work in the city of Pittsburgh, you're going to get taxed on that. And also you have your transfer taxes. So you have your state transfer tax, which is usually, I think, around 1%. And then if you live in Pittsburgh, the city of Pittsburgh, it's like a 5% transfer tax. So that includes your school tax and a couple other taxes in there that add up to a 5%. But when you're buying or selling a home, that's going to be divided, 2.5 for the buyer, 2.5 for the seller. On the most part, they split that evenly. So on your closing costs, you got to understand, okay, crap, I'm going to have a 2.5% transfer fee here just because I'm buying or selling in the city of Pittsburgh. All right, so that brings us to number 3. The number three thing you need to know before you move here is you're going to want to know what the job market's like. Obviously, you're probably more than likely going to be moving here because you've been transferred or because you're looking for a new job or a new start, and so you know what the job market is already. The things that drive Pittsburgh the most are going to be healthcare. Healthcare and education. So you got UPMC, AHN. University of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, those are all drivers of a lot of our jobs here in the Pittsburgh area. Now, you do have a lot of tech companies coming in. So you have the Google, you have Duolingo, you have some AI companies coming in, Aurora, there's robotics startups, have given the city an innovation label, if you will, especially down near the Strip District downtown. There's some new companies that have moved in there. I believe Duolingo might have moved in down there in that area. So you're also going to see, because of our cost of living, you're going to see a lot of remote workers are starting to move to Pittsburgh because, believe it or not, we are rated as one of the least expensive, if you will, for cost of living when you're talking about metro city areas. So you got people from DC, you got people from New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, which I lived in Los Angeles, like I said earlier. It's cheaper to live here. So if you're a remote worker and you still want like a city feel or you want some city amenities, people are moving to Pittsburgh because it is cheaper but they can still work, remotely from and keep their job. So that's another draw. So you have a lot of remote workers. Then you have the education, and then you have the healthcare people, a lot of doctors, nurses, stuff like that, living in Pittsburgh. So that's our job market. That's the main drivers of our job market. Now, that's not to say, so we are the Steel City. We are blue collar at our roots here in Pittsburgh. There are tons and tons of contractor jobs and contractors here. Every turn you make, you're going to see another landscape company. You're going to see another general contracting company. You're going to see another roofing company. They're all over the place because there's always work. Pittsburgh's built on blue collar, the steel mills back in the day. It's not all steel mills anymore, like we just talked about, the healthcare and in the hospitals and stuff like that, or the education. I mean, and then you have the tech coming in. So, but still, there are a ton of blue collar jobs available here. And if you don't think you can find a job, look on Craigslist. Look on Indeed.com or whatever. Just start looking at the jobs, and you're going to see tons and tons of opportunities if you're in the trades. Electricians, plumbers, carpenters. There's lots of work for carpenters here. Drywallers are always in high demand. It's tough to find a good drywall finisher that shows up. It's tough to find any contractor that shows up. Half the battle, if you want to be a contractor and you want to start over again, move to Pittsburgh, answer your phone, and show up and give your estimates, and then show up to do the work and complete the work after you get that first check. That'll make you leaps and bounds above everybody in the area. I don't know what it is. I'm going to complain a little bit about a lot of contractors here. They don't show up. They don't answer the phones. But there's tons of them. There's tons of work too. There's plenty of work. I guess that's why they don't answer their phones, is because they have so much work. So that's my little rant. Answer your phone, contractors. Okay, so it brings us to number 4, which is going to be neighborhood variety. Every neighborhood feels like its own little different city. There's over 90 different distinct neighborhoods that make up the actual city of Pittsburgh. And you could go, from Victorian homes over here to townhomes over here to brand new mansions in here. 2 blocks down, you're going to be in another neighborhood, and it's going to look totally different. It's going to be mid-century moderns or homes that are built all in the 1950s, and they're all brick ranch or brick colonials. Every neighborhood feels a little different, and that's what makes Pittsburgh really, really unique. I lived in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is 90 cities in Los Angeles as well that make up LA County. They all pretty much look the same. You know what I mean? The same style of home over here, and then you get up in the Malibu, and then you, of course, get the mansions and stuff like that. But then all those neighborhoods look all the same. Here, you could have one block of $1 million homes. Next block is $250,000 homes. Next block is going to be $800,000 homes. They're all mixed in here. And you got homes from the late 1800s all the way up to being built right now. So such a variety. There's different feel. Each neighborhood, say the Mexican War Streets. I did a video on that. You can see my walking tour of Mexican War Streets. All high end, pretty much. Old homes from the early 1900s, late 1800s, and they're row houses, but they just totally redid these houses, made them beautiful, gorgeous, all new interiors, and now they're worth $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. Beautiful. The neighborhood, it just feels like a neighborhood. You walk around, people are outside on their stoops and stuff, talking to each other, talking to the neighbors. Then you live in a neighborhood like mine, Graybrook here in Allison Park, and it's all families. Everybody has a quarter to a half acre colonial homes, split level homes. You got all kinds of different styles of homes in our neighborhood, but they're just all families, and it's just a cool, unique experience. Neighborhoods that have pools. McCandless has its own pool. A lot of other neighborhoods. Ingamar has its own pool up here in the north end of Pittsburgh. So you got all these different feels. So if that's what you're looking for, there's diversity everywhere. You go downtown, you're going to see the techie stuff. You're going to see the apartments, the more of the condo living, stuff like that, the 1 or 2 bedroom apartments. And then you go out to Westmoreland County and you get your farms. You go up here to Butler County, you get your farms, you get your mansions. Washington County, you're going to have huge estates down there, brand new homes. You're going to have your farms as well down there, and then you're going to have your new neighborhoods. There's townhomes down there in Washington County, newly built by Infinity Custom Homes, and then they're building some up on Mount Washington right now. So you got all this variety everywhere. It's such a unique experience here in Pittsburgh once you talk about the neighborhoods. Okay, now let's talk about something that's quite annoying for Pittsburghers, and not sure where this started, and that's the commute. Uh, the commute here can be very frustrating. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why because after being in Los Angeles, and I keep bringing that up because that's my experience with city living, and Los Angeles is very spread out. You got freeways instead of highways, and they're 4 or 5, 6 lanes, sometimes wide, and they're always packed. They're always packed from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. It's just packed, no matter where you go. That's why you ride a motorcycle, and then you can split the lanes. So that's a lot of traffic. Coming here to Pittsburgh, everything is a 2, sometimes 3 lanes. Parkways are 2 lanes for the most part. Every once in a while, there's a 3 lane area. Everybody goes fine, and then you hit a tunnel or a bridge. And what happens at these tunnels, it's like people freak out. They're like, the lane's pretty much the same size. You're going 70 miles an hour before you hit the tunnel, and then all of a sudden, bam, you slam on the brakes because you see a tunnel, and you go down to 50, and then it just backs up everything behind you, and then there's wrecks everywhere. So if you're traveling into the city in the morning from the east part of the city, say if you're coming from Westmoreland County, from Irwin, from Fox Chapel or Fox Hills or whatever, and you're coming into the city on the Parkway East, you're going to hit the Squirrel Hill Tunnel, so you're going to be backed up. And there aren't that many different ways to get into the city, so you have to go through the Squirrel Hill Tunnel, or you go through some back roads and go through Shady Side and whatnot, or Squirrel Hill North or whatever. You have to plan for it. It's just how it is in the morning. There's tons and tons of traffic because of the Squirrel Hill Tunnel. If you're coming from the west, which I think is worse, and you're taking a Parkway west from, like, say, Moon Township or the Pittsburgh International Airport area, and you're coming down the hill towards the Fort Pitt Tunnel, man, that place is horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's that right there has to be the worst commute. I would never live in that area if I had to go into downtown every day for work. It just wouldn't happen. I absolutely despise going from the Moon area, from the west side, trying to get downtown during any rush hour is just ridiculous. I would rather drive an hour out of my way just to stay away from that Parkway West. I think it's horrible. Now, if you're coming from the north, it's not that bad. Parkway North isn't too shabby. I've driven through the city to get out to Irwin and Westmoreland County from the Ross Park area, from the North Hills area, from McCandless area. I've driven that a lot of times during rush hour, and that one's not too bad. I don't know what it is. There's no tunnel. There's bridges. You have to go over some bridges, Veteran Bridge and whatnot, but there's no tunnel. So I guess that's it. And there's a couple other ways you can jump down 28 and do all these different things. But so that takes care of the tunnels, and there's bridges everywhere. So everything kind of bottlenecks wherever you try to go in and out of the city. You got a bottleneck because there's 3 rivers. So you always have to go over a bridge or through a tunnel somehow, some way, and people just freak out on tunnels. So bottlenecks, that sucks. Now there is like pretty much no grid in Pittsburgh unless you live downtown or on the North Shore or maybe in the South Side a little bit. Mount Lebanon, not really. There's no grid set up other than these little small pocket neighborhoods. Everything is just windy roads, or you can't tell. When I was a cop in Los Angeles, I knew exactly if the street number was odd or even or whatever. I knew exactly which side it was on and which direction the sun was. You could just tell where you're at all times. Here you have no clue. You're winding roads. You're going in and out of valleys and river valleys and up and down the hills and stuff. You have no idea what's up, down, north, south, east, or west. So if you're trying to get somewhere and it says 5 miles, that could take you literally 30 minutes just because of how the roads are routed. There's no straight shot. There's literally there's a few straight roads here and there, and that's it. Maybe the turnpike, 79 and 70 on the south side of Pittsburgh. Those are about the only straight shots you got. So the commutes here can be a little difficult. You really got to know your routes. You really got to be able to react quickly. I know everybody has seen those. If you're going towards the Fort Pitt Tunnel from the North Shore on, say you take 579 or 279 south, and you go past the past the stadiums, and you try to get on the Fort Pitt bridge and go through the Fort Pitt Tunnel. Be ready for traffic, one, because everybody drives like a maniac in that section for one, and then you're underneath like a bridge, like there's two layers, two levels or whatever. It seems like there's two levels on that bridge. You have to react like that, like in a split second. You got to know exactly which lane, because this lane you're gonna you could be all the way in the left lane, think you're good, and your GPS is saying just stay to the right, stay there, and then you have to get 3 rows over in a matter of 50 feet, and you're going 75 miles an hour, and it's just ridiculous. So know your routes ahead of time. Look over, if you have to use GPS, just look over your map, get an idea of where you need to go, kind of understand which lanes, because the GPS isn't always right as well. Sometimes you lose signal, whatever, but at least you got to know where you're going before you start going. Before I jump off the commute, there's one thing there that I don't know how to say this, but I don't think this is a Pittsburgh thing. But I've heard people saying this Pittsburgh left. I know exactly what it is. You're sitting in an intersection, and say it's only one lane going each way or whatever, and that you can see the person across from you is trying to. You're first in line at the red light. The person across from you on the other side, going the opposite way, has their left turn signal on, and you have a line of cars behind you. The right thing to do, in my opinion, if they don't have the turning light, if the stoplight doesn't have the turning light, I tend to let that person go. But I've seen people in almost every other city I've ever been in do that. But Pittsburgh claims it's Pittsburgh left. So is it a Pittsburgh thing? I don't know. I've lived in other cities. I've seen it there too. I don't know how you can claim that, Pittsburgh, but you do. Okay, so let's jump into number 6. Number 6 is going to be the hidden costs, and I actually covered some of this before. I covered the transfer tax before, so we already talked about the transfer tax when you're buying and selling a home. But another hidden cost, which I mentioned before, but I didn't really talk about it, was that city wage tax. It's going to be 3%. 3% of your wages are taxed if you live in or work in the city of Pittsburgh. So know that. So when you see your first check or whatever come in, you'll be like, what in the hell is that? 3%. Yeah, that's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just took 3% just because they're letting you work in their city. Yeah, and then we talked about the property tax. Property taxes are going to be different. Every little neighborhood or school district and whatnot, they all have different millages. And we talked about the transfer taxes and how that's different. There's not a 5% transfer tax in, say, where I'm at. I'm sorry, if you're in Butler County or Westmoreland County or something like that. That's a Pittsburgh thing too. So Pittsburgh's so special. They get you every which way they can, but just know if you're going to live in downtown Pittsburgh, live in the city limits, you got these other hidden costs. You got your transfer costs, your 5% transfer fee, and you got your city wage fee, 3%. That stuff adds up real quick. So just be wary of that. All right, so that brings us to the 7th and last, and that is going to be the culture. Pittsburgh has its own rhythm to it. It is pretty amazing. It's pretty impressive. And when I'm talking about that, let's talk about things like the city sports pride. Pittsburgh diehard sports fans, well, I would say they're diehard Steelers fans, fair weather Penguin fans from my experience. There are some diehard Penguins fans for sure. There's some diehard Pirate fans, but that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller for each year that they get these all-stars and then trade them away. So then you get chants of people saying sell the team. Now, if you're the owner and you hear your city telling you, your city people telling you to sell the team, you're doing something maybe that's not right. And fans aren't always correct, but come on, man. You know Paul Skeens isn't going to stay here. Why would you stay here? They're going to trade him. I would love to see Paul Skeens stay here in Pittsburgh for his career and win, but for the Pirates, they're going to end up they basically look like a minor league team for the rest of the major leagues. It's ridiculous. How many All-Stars, Hall of Famers have they given away? Have they traded after their rookie contract's up? It's stupid. Anyway, let's get back to the Steelers, because the Steelers are always a big thing. Everybody's got their terrible terrible towels. I have them. I'm not a diehard fan in any way, shape, or form, but I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But if I don't go to a game, I don't go to a game. If I don't see them on Sunday, I'm okay with that. There are a lot like me, and then there's a lot of people that just live, breathe, and die for the Steelers. You're going to see tons of black and gold. On a Sunday, if you try to do anything like, say, as realtors, I know I do it. I know some colleagues of mine do it. If you're having an open house scheduled on a Sunday and you have to have it on a Sunday for some reason, and it's football season, you want to see, is there a home game? And then home games, they do affect it. I've seen it. Firsthand, I've seen it. Okay, in a home game for the Steelers on a Sunday at a 1 o'clock game, and I'm trying to hold an open house from 1 to 3 or 12 to 2. I see less people. It just happens. It is what it is because people love the Steelers here. Um, Pirates doesn't matter. you could, yeah, Pirates doesn't matter. But Steelers game, or if you're going to try to schedule anything on a Sunday here, um, during football season, you make sure look at the Steelers schedule. I'm just giving you a word of advice. If you want more people to show up, if you want everybody to show up that you invite, make sure it's not during a Steelers game because they'll they'll come up with any excuse or they'll just downright tell you, no, the Steelers are playing, so I'm not going to be there. All right, so now there's also a strong local community here. People, there's multi generational families live in the same neighborhoods. They tend to here. Not a lot of them, but there are quite a bit of multi-generational families that tend to stay in the same actual neighborhood or town or little city or borough or whatnot. So you see that a lot here, but I see that at other cities as well. It's not, I don't think that's anything special to Pittsburgh, but I think you'll notice it when you're here. Like say, hey, the whole family lives 2 blocks away from each other. It happens. It happens. No, another thing that I think this goes along the lines with the Pittsburgh left. Well, not quite that bad. The whole Yinzer thing. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. I never said Yinzer growing up. I never heard any of my friends or my parents or anybody say Yinzer. I moved to Los Angeles and then I moved back here and we moved to Pittsburgh and we're in Allegheny County. I hardly ever hear anybody say Yinzer. And I know it's a Pittsburgh thing. They say, hey, Yins want to go up there, down there, over there, or buggy and all that stuff, the whole lingo. But I don't hear Yinzer that much. So if you're coming to Pittsburgh and you think you're going to hear Yins all over the place, you're probably not going to hear it. There's certain neighborhoods, there's certain old school neighborhoods, McKeesport, neighborhoods like Glassport, stuff like that, where you're probably going to see some of the old heads saying Yinzers or something, but there really aren't that. I haven't run into that many people saying Yinzer. So if you're coming to Pittsburgh and you think you're going to hear Yinzer all the time, you're probably going to be disappointed. Just want to let you know that. Okay, so I just had a client. They moved here from Alaska. They met on YouTube, just like you guys, researching some neighborhoods. They looked at Sharpsburg one, ended up actually moving right here into the North Allegheny School District, 10 minutes away from me. Awesome family. I just getting a little off track there, but the reason I bring that up is I just went and saw them literally today. They finally made it here from Alaska. Did over 4,000 miles drive from Anchorage to here to Pittsburgh. I went and met them. We had some lunch today, and brings me to the food scene. Which, if you're from Pittsburgh, been to Pittsburgh, visited Pittsburgh, or read anything about Pittsburgh, and you look into food, you're gonna hear the word Primanti Brothers sandwiches. I love them. Some people think they're garbage and whatnot, and I think you're ridiculous for saying that. But I love Primanti's. I don't get it all the time. I don't eat it weekly. I eat it maybe, I don't know, 4 times a year, something like that. But that's what Pittsburgh's known for. Putting French fries on everything. That doesn't happen. They don't put French fries on everything. They do put French fries on a lot of things, a lot of salads and stuff like that. But certain restaurants do that. It's just a thing. Primanti's puts fries on their sandwiches and stuff like that. And I love it. I absolutely freaking love Primanti's. But the food scene here in general is totally underrated. There's so many different Asian cuisine foods, Chinese, Thai. There's all kinds of different sushi restaurants, stuff like that. Absolutely wonderful. There's a lot of Mexican restaurants. There's a lot of stuff. You go downtown, you're going to see some more authentic shops, like small, nothing, not like a Chili's or Applebee's or stuff like that. We're talking little authentic little restaurants where people had migrated here from years ago or whatever, and they open up a restaurant in their hometown or from their home country. And man, there's so many foods here that are just amazing. And I've only scratched the surface of it. I've been here since 2018, so 7 years we've lived here, and I haven't come close to even diving into all that different food stuff. But it's totally underrated. Totally underrated. There's so many good different styles of food here. The bakeries, you can follow some people on Instagram. some of these food people. If you just go on Instagram and do a search for Pittsburgh Eats or something like that, I think is the name. Man, they visit all these places. They show all kinds of different burgers, different chicken sandwiches, different salads. Anything you can think of, any style of cuisine, you can find it here in Pittsburgh. It's a city, so you're gonna find it. So anything you're looking for, if you're hungry for something that night, just get on Instagram and look for it, and you're gonna find it right here in Pittsburgh. I guarantee you're gonna be coming across something absolutely wonderful. Now, when it comes to people, blue collar at the core. So you got a lot of hard working people here. A lot of the old heads that are here are they're a little calloused, but they're also friendly as hell. But they work so hard their whole lives working in the mills. That was a huge thing, the steel mills back in the day. So the older class people, a lot of them grew up in these mills, and their bodies are beat and worn. But man, they're the nicest people. They sit on the porch. They'll talk to you for hours about their childhood and whatnot. Then you got some new tech people coming in and whatnot. All kinds of different people, all kinds of different attitudes and everything. I wouldn't say Pittsburgh's the friendliest people. I was just in Florida last week. I thought Dunedin, I call it Dunedin, Clearwater. Those are some of the friendliest people. I think most of them were transplants from Pennsylvania and New York, though. But Pittsburgh in general is going to be a pleasant experience for you with the people, but there's going to be a lot of people flip you off, tell you to F off. If you jump in line, if you cut them off in traffic, get ready to be yelled at. It just is what it is. Just roll your window up and keep on driving. Don't pay no mind to it. But I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in Pittsburgh, and I don't know. People are about the same either way. You're going to find the good, the bad, and ugly in people everywhere you go. All right, guys, that's it. Those are the 7 things I want you to just understand about Pittsburgh. It's kind of like my experience with Pittsburgh moving here 7 years ago. If you have any other questions, you want to get on a phone call, maybe perhaps check out some neighborhoods or see some new homes. You want to talk about some builders and some things they got going on here in Pittsburgh in the Western Pennsylvania area. I sell homes from Pittsburgh to Erie. I'll sell a home. All right, if you have any questions about that, guys, hit me up on an email, shane@expgh.com. Until next video, guys, thanks again for watching. Keep it real estate.